This may come as a shock to a lot of you, but I'm actually all for movies and TV shows that cater to a specific audience. I believe there's a story for everybody. Not one group should be catered to. I think if there's a demographic that has a story that needs to be told, then you should absolutely tell that story to that demographic. I mean, I look at Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry targeted the black church going female for his movies, and it made him a millionaire. And that was a demographic that was not tapped into. He was smart to tap into that, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. So, believe it or not, I'm not going to tell anybody that no group, whether it's based on race, gender, whatever the case is, should be excluded from having a story being told for them. I'm 100% all for that. What I am not for is when you have a story or a franchise or an IP that has already been established as being catering to a specific group, and then you usurp that group for a minority group that was never really into that franchise to begin with and are only into it just to reaffirm their already established views. That's what I'm against, because it's destructive all around. Now, I haven't done any Star Wars videos on my channel with the exception of my non-review of The Rise of Skywalker, a movie that I have not seen, and I still haven't seen and will not see, but I know enough to know that the movie's trash. So I will, that was the only Star Wars video I've ever done on my channel. And I know a lot of channels on YouTube and Twitter have thrived on Star Wars content. I have not done Star Wars content, and I'm fine with it. Believe it or not, I'm fine with it. I after The Last Jedi, there was no reason for me to even talk about it because it was what it was. It was trash. So there was nothing for me to even talk about. But I found it interesting today, this morning, when I got up and I checked my feed and I checked my notifications, that my Twitter timeline was filled with crybabies, specifically alt-left bigots and misandrists, upset about the cancellation of the Acolyte and blaming the audience that was never intended to see the Acolyte. See, the Acolyte was created specifically for an audience of lesbian women, and that's fine. I mean, look, if you want to make a story catering to lesbian women, that's perfectly fine. But when you take an IP like Star Wars that was clearly catered to men, boys and men, and then you usurp it to cater to a small minority, in this case, lesbian women, you're going to get the result you got, which is people aren't going to watch, and people are going to rightfully call it what it is, a flaming trash heap. That the Acolyte usurped and subverted the already established lore in previous Star Wars canon. For example, it's been accepted that Plagueis, who was Sidious's mentor, was the one who discovered the way to manipulate the midichlorians to create life, and it hinted at the creation of Anakin Skywalker. But in the Acolyte, they gave that credit instead over to a pack of lesbian space witches, because we can't have men create things in the Star Wars universe now, especially white men. So all power goes to the women, because according to Kathleen Kennedy, the Force is female. So with that already established as the driving force of the series, you only were catering to a specific group because you've already expressed a misandrist, anti-male, bigoted perspective. And I'm talking to the creators of the Acolytes, especially Leslie Headbrand, who was a personal assistant to convicted sex offender Harvey Weinstein. But we don't want to talk about that. See, all the people that are crying about the hatred of women and people of color and queer and all that stuff, you forget that the headliner for the show was the personal assistant of a sex offender. But we won't talk about that. Anyway, you mean they're hypocrites? Go figure. Anyway, I figure we go ahead and talk about some of the crybaby tweets that I saw today. Are we still calling it Twitter? No, it's X, right? So what do we call these posts? We don't call them tweets now. Screw it. For sake of brevity, we'll call them tweets. So here's one of the and by the way, dogs, don't contact the people because they'll block you anyway, so they're in an echo chamber. But I just think it's funny to just showcase them and just laugh at them because they laugh at you. They mock you. They mock masculinity. They hate men. They hate the patriarchy. They hate the foundation of what drove these IP successful, like Star Wars and Masters of the Universe. These are all male-driven IPs, and they can't have that, so they have to subvert that because of the fear of masculinity that these broken people have. And make no mistake, the creators of shows like The Acolyte are broken people. But this is an example of what they're crying about when they talk about a show that was predominantly non-white, queer cast with an incredible viewership. Well, okay, well that's a lie because the viewership was very low. That's why the show was canceled. It had very low viewership and it decreased with each episode. So they're in La La Land. These people are when they claim that the show had incredible viewership, and you're gonna see as I show more of these tweets just how delusional they are. Here's someone calling people who hated the Acolytes racist, misogynistic, toxic losers. And then you wonder why the show did poor because the people that the show was not targeting just didn't want to watch it. Why should they? It wasn't for them. But those people are considered racist, misogynistic, and they have to support a show that is misandrous, anti-male bigotry. And by the way, I haven't seen a single episode of The Acolyte. I just saw clips on Twitter. I saw people talk about it, and it was enough for me to know that the show was hot garbage. So it wasn't like I personally got up and celebrated it. I just didn't care. I didn't care that it was canceled, just like I didn't care that it was on because I didn't care for it. I didn't watch it. Didn't waste my time on it. They keep referring to critics of the show as toxic. The show was not made, and they tell you with their own word, the show was not made for white men, and white men are the predominant target base of Star Wars. They have been for the last few decades. And not even white men, like even like with like the original trilogy, there was clearly established that a form of diversity was part of the Star Wars universe, specifically, excuse my mispronunciation of words, but specifically with Lando Calrissian. Good night. We've already had Leia, so we know that women were significant characters in the Star Wars universe, and then we had Lando Calrissian. So diversity was not something that Lucas was alien to, and a lot of the boys who didn't give a shit about racism. See, when you're a kid, you don't really delve deep into racism because that's something that's taught, and it's the people like this. Like these people here that you're looking at right here, these are the people that teach racism because these are the people that divide you. These are the people with real hatred and violence and murder in their hearts. When they call you a sexist, homophobic, and racist, they're really telling on themselves because nobody who's a fan of fiction goes into it and saying, oh, geez, which person of color or which gender or whomever can I oppress today in my fiction? No, they want to go and just see the good guy beat the bad guy and the good guy get the girl. It's a tried and true formula. And that's what made Star Wars so popular and so endearing. And that's the side of Star Wars that has been usurped and subverted with the recent Disney stuff. Well, with most of the Disney stuff that they tried to vomit out to the public. And if it's presumed that the success of a show is predicated upon people feeling represented, then it would stand to reason then that those who are not represented shouldn't watch the show, right? Because that's the reason you're pushing this racial and LGBTQ propagandized product is because you're reaching out to those groups because you want them to feel represented. So then, therefore, if other groups are not represented, they shouldn't have to watch it. I mean, just going by your logic, correct? Even though it is stupid logic because you should just feel like the characters you're watching on the screen should be relatable regardless of how they look. And then you get these false equivalencies like pointing to the Clone Wars or The Mandalorian as examples of, well, those shows were given chances to succeed despite rocky starts, but those shows had higher viewership to begin with, especially The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian, with the first episode alone, was praised, and it got people curious with the reveal of Grogu. Not to mention, it celebrated masculinity because the Mandalorian was a strong masculine character, and it built upon the foundation of father, adoptive son, kind of like Lone Wolf and Cub. Well, not kind of. It was directly inspired by Lone Wolf and Cub. So it rewarded masculinity. It rewarded the core base of Star Wars fans, and it told a solid story without subverting the lore that was already established with the accepted Star Wars canon. That's why the show got 3 seasons, because it rewarded its fan base until it stopped, and then people stopped watching it, and it stopped. Although there is a Mandalorian movie coming out, Mandalorian and Grogu, so they're still pushing that IP because there is a history of success with it. Now, will the movie be successful? Well, we'll see. We'll see what they do with it. But the Mandalorian did what the Acolyte didn't do. It didn't piss away its established fan base. Same with Clone Wars. Clone Wars was built off the prequels that Lucas put out there, the much maligned and critically divisive prequels. We'll put it like that. But the Clone Wars, a lot of people have said that it did what the prequels couldn't do. It told a solid pre-OT, original trilogy, Star Wars story with a lot of world building, and it didn't disrespect the lore that was already established. On top of the fact that it introduced new characters like Ahsoka, while establishing already known characters like Mace Windu and Anakin. So it's no wonder those shows did well. Meanwhile, the Acolyte usurped all those characters, usurped the established lore, and tried to push an alt-left, anti-male, bigoted, misandrist message, and that's why it was rejected. And again, these people with their visions of victimhood, claiming that, if you're a fan of color, you should stay away from Star Wars. Mind you, we've already had Lando Calrissian, who's an accepted, beloved character from the original trilogy, and Mace Windu, who's accepted as one of the best parts of the prequel trilogy. But according to these alt-left bigots, people of color should stay away from Star Wars. See, this is what they think of you. This is what these people, and this is why I say they have hate in their heart, they have darkness in their heart, they have murder in their heart, because they're not operating on truth. They're not operating on honesty or genuine discourse. They're operating on a message. They're operating on propaganda, and they're trying to force division upon people if you don't accept things their way. And they're trying so hard to usurp the truth. They're claiming that, oh no, it was never given a green light on season 2, so therefore it wasn't canceled. They just chose not to move forward. And elsewhere, I did see that in February of this year, there was talks of moving along with the season 2, but because of the bad criticism of it, the low viewership, they chose not to do it because it wasn't good. But if it was good, if it did what The Mandalorian did, it would have gotten a season 2. But reception was so bad, not even Disney could justify the message behind the show to push this out there any further. And it's like I said, selling hatred, racism, and anti-male bigotry, it's not a recipe for financial success. And if people just don't understand the Star Wars fan base, they call the established Star Wars fan base, they call the boys that got those action figures, the boys that got the vehicle sets, the Lego sets, the ones that came in droves when they were in their youths to see the prequels and the special editions in the 90s. They call that fan base toxic assholes. These are the people that hate you. And you should have no shame or fear to push back and refer to them as toxic assholes, because they're pushing division, hatred, and bigotry upon you. And it's true that the people that the alt-left that are pushing this division and hatred, they're the minority in the fan base. The majority of Star Wars fans are the ones that just walk away from this shit. Don't patronize it. Don't deal with it. Don't even acknowledge it like I did. I didn't acknowledge any of it at all because I knew it was hot garbage, so I'm not going to waste my time on it. And that fan base, that tried and true, real Star Wars fan base that bought the merch, that gave Star Wars all these years of life and relevancy, that's the fan base that spoke loud and clear with their wallets. They spoke loud and clear with their viewership, or rather, in this case, lack of viewership. And they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear discourse. They don't want to hear disagreements. It's either you accept what they say or you're a bigot that deserves to be silenced. And they're definitely creating their own echo chamber to cope real hard with their failure of pushing a hateful, divisive show like The Acolyte. And no amount of name calling that your kind can do, referring to Star Wars fans as asshole incels or bigots, no amount of name calling can sugarcoat or suppress or memory hole the meaning behind the failure of The Acolyte and the message that was trying to be pushed, and the fact that you drove away the real Star Wars fans. And make no mistake, it is them that's pushing that division. They're the ones that are throwing race and sex and age out there. 50-year-old white guys that consume Star Wars, well, that's the demographic currently that is going to save the brand if the brand has any chance of being saved. Because this small minority of divisive, bigoted, alt-left cult mongers are what's killing the brand. And they cope so hard that they start spewing things that make absolutely no sense. For example, acknowledging the show had low viewership, but then calling it popular. How can it be popular and have low viewership? The two don't mix. But this is what coping looks like. This is what happens when emotions and hatred and this entitled mindset mixed together looks like. And then it comes out in these words. There's no amount of rationalizing or evidence that can convince these people that, hey, maybe you guys are the bad guys. Maybe you're the villains here. Maybe you're the ones that were poison to the fan base. Maybe it's you that divided us and destroyed the thing you claimed you love. And maybe, just maybe, it's starting to hit you real hard and you're not able to accept it. And calling that group, that the fan base, the real fan base that patronized the franchise, calling that base the wrong fan base is why your shows will continue to fail, and why your hateful mindset will fade into obscurity, and why your divisiveness and your dark-heartedness, your racism, your sexism, all that will fade into the darkness, into the void. Because the majority is done. They're done. They're not going to engage with you. They're not going to try to have a dialogue with you. You've already indicated that we're not welcome. That fan base is not welcome in your communities. It's not welcome in your fabricated Star Wars community. So they're just quietly walking away. And as a result, shows like The Acolyte are completely dependent upon your engagement and your patronizing. And what has been revealed without doubt, what's been shown is that there isn't enough in your fan base and your core to sustain the existence of this IP, of this franchise. You're a small minority, and therefore you're costing Star Wars billions of dollars in revenue and viewership, and it's going to eventually fade away. It's going to be such a toxic brand that Disney's probably going to beg Lucas to take it back for peanuts. And it's being acknowledged right now. It's currently being acknowledged that Bob Iger realizes that, hey, you know what? This whole pushing of the this anti-male, anti-white, anti-Christian messaging, it's probably not good for sales. It's not good for entertainment. They have acknowledged that a show like The Acolyte is a trash fire, a toxic trash fire. Now, does that mean that Iger sees the light? Well, I don't know what he sees, because he was one of those pushing this crap. It wasn't like he decided that, you know what, I was wrong, because he was behind the driving force, one of the driving forces behind The Last Jedi, of the Rise of Skywalker, of what they did to Boba Fett, or what they did to shows like Kenobi, which sidestepped established characters for feminist propaganda. He was behind all that. And I know we say Kathleen Kennedy, but Iger really was not button heads with Kennedy. So I'm not sure if this is a legit return to form. I doubt it. And even if it was, how many of the fans are going to stick around to wait for that? I don't know. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. So what can I do? What can I say? I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, because at this point now, me personally, I stopped caring. I just laugh. I woke up this morning and I was laughing at the reaction by some of these snowflakes that really expected you, and I say you meaning the larger Star Wars fan base. They expected you, after all these years of gaslighting and hatred and calling you bigots and alt-right and misogynists, all kinds of inflammatory names. That's what I meant. derogatory, inflammatory names, it becomes your fault that you didn't watch a show that was not catered towards you. The people that the show was catered towards, there weren't enough of them. They don't realize that there wasn't enough of them to sustain it, and it failed. So now it's your fault. The people that the show wasn't catered towards, it's your fault for not watching a show that hated you, a show that disparaged you, invalidated you. It's your fault. And that's what's funny about this. It's the cope. It's they don't want to learn the lesson. They're never going to learn it. They don't want to learn it. And you have to understand, they're clouded by hatred. They're clouded by hate and bigotry and darkness. And I'm not really one to say we should have discourse with those people. I'm all for leaving them alone in their echo chamber and just letting them cry their way into obscurity. And I think that people who are staying away because of these trash fires, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. This is what you do. You don't even need to talk about every single episode of crap like this. You know what's going to happen. You know what they're pushing. You know what the details of the show. Just stay away and speak with your wallets. Speak with your wallets. Speak with your time. And this is how you stop this crap from being pushed. And you go and support movies like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is still pretty... It's doing pretty well still. People are still talking about it in a good way. And rightfully so. It is a good show. It is a good movie. Fun, exciting movie. So you absolutely should support that and speak with your wallets. And Deadpool and Wolverine's success. And my last video that I did about the She-Hulk stands being upset over it, it's getting a lot of engagement. People are interested in that and tuning in. And if you haven't seen it, you should go ahead and watch it. It's the last video I did before this one. And yeah, it's gotten a lot of engagement. People are definitely intrigued by it. And I think this is a continuation of that there seems to be it's small, but there seems to be a return to masculinity in entertainment for IPs and franchises that were always geared towards the masculine mindset. And I think we're seeing that, and it's resulting in some very eye-opening successes in certain places. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is going to be a turnaround, or do you think they're still going to be pushing this alt-left messaging in our entertainment? What do you guys think? Let me hear it from your comments. I look forward to hearing from you. And don't forget, in September, I'm going to be doing a second chance campaign launch of my graphic novel, Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake. It's going to be the second graphic novel in the Road Warrior Drake saga. This is the second chance campaign. So more details as the weeks go by. But stay tuned to this channel for information about it. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. Have a great day and take care. See you soon.